Hi, everyone. I'm Steven Sigmund.
And I'm Mike Messinio.
And this is the Weekly Movie Throwdown, a discussion show where each week we talk about a film that fits into our overall monthly theme. However, when there's a fifth week in the month, we divert a little bit and we go to our Rewatch and Reconsider series. That's what we're doing this week. And I'm very excited that I brought this one to the show. This is something I probably haven't seen in 30 years, but that makes it ripe for re-examination. From 1985, co-written and directed by Neal Israel, it's Moving Violations. And I'm very excited to hear your thoughts on this because I'm guessing they're probably not going to be good.
Maybe you'll be surprised. Maybe you won't. It's hard to say.
Okay.
But I am very surprised that, when you brought this up, that I had never heard of it. It is pretty shocking that I would have missed I don't even know what to call it, but it's like peak comedy, mid-'80s HBO movie. I mean, I am kind of surprised that I did not see it.
So even in watching it now, it didn't like trigger a memory for you.
No trigger, no memory of seeing this movie. So it was all new to me. So yeah, I was very surprised that I had never heard of it.
Oh, and you're not alone because I don't think anybody saw this movie.
That is fair.
All right, before we dive into it, let's talk about a little news from this week. I have two quick things this week. Number one, Francis Ford Coppola is broke.
About it.
He just lost his shirt on Megalopolis. It's nothing new for Coppola. I mean, he's this is basically how he works. Is he puts all of his money into a film, it doesn't make money, he loses it and has to make it back. So it's kind of just going through that cycle. And he's selling off some very expensive watches just to recoup costs from Megalopolis.
Yeah, don't you feel like he's a bit out of time to recoup the money this time, though? I don't. Like I said, I've always loved the idea of Coppola being Coppola and putting his money where his mouth is. But I just wish that someone had told him that this was not a good plan. I just wish someone
it's a
had
new
stopped
landscape.
him.
Yeah, I mean, the first time on streaming, or with streaming in the fold, he put this out in theaters. I think he refuses to put it on streaming somehow, or he's going to give in and do that in a month or two. But to date, it's not available anywhere. And that's by design for him. Why you wouldn't want to recoup some of that costs from people watching it on a television, I don't know. But hey, I mean, he sticks to his guns, and wants us to be seen in theaters.
He does. I get it. But again, we were just talking about this last week where there just isn't really even a place for this anymore necessarily. And he just didn't read the room. He didn't read the tea leaves. I don't even think he read his own script. I just think he didn't. There was no reading going on before he dove headlong into this. And he sold his winery. Now he's selling all his stuff. And it just feels like it makes me sad. I just wish that someone had told him that this was not going to go well, because everyone else seemed to know it except him.
I think that the word broke is like kind of interpreted differently for Francis Ford Coppola too, than it, much like recently Kevin Spacey said he's homeless. And then he admitted to living in like 4-star hotels and Airbnbs, but he just doesn't physically own a home. I would imagine that Coppola still has a little money and some assets that he can, lean
That's
into
true.
If he needs to.
But he did have to sell his island, which that's a rough one when you got to sell your vacation island. That's hard.
That means he's definitively broke if he had to sell his island. I get it. That makes sense. Oh, the lives of the rich and famous, or the broke and famous, I guess, in this case. One more thing to mention, and that is that Barnes & Noble has partnered with A24, and they're going to be setting up A24 shops inside of their stores going forward. They're opening with 9 locations. One is at Union Square in New York, and then there are a few other weird ones like Seattle, San Antonio, nothing in Los Angeles, but it's an interesting partnership because it's bringing physical media to a place that kind of supports physical media already, in they have a Criterion Collection sale going on right now. I won't tell you how many things I bought over the past 2 weeks, but they really lean into it to, as much as a retailer can, which I love, and just going with A24 on this kind of just takes that a step further. I think it's an interesting concept. I don't know what they hope to gain from it, but I think it's gonna put A24 products in front of people who don't usually get to see them. I mean, they're normally on their website and you get emails if you're on the mailing list, but other than that, I don't see a lot of A24 stuff out in the wild. So this will be interesting.
Yeah, I think what I'm gonna wait to see is whether or not they create some exclusive merchandise for the store and whether or not
Mm,
they expand what they're offering because they're getting a storefront now,
yeah.
within Barnes& and Noble, so I'd be curious to see how that all plays out.
This is also the second foray into like a physical space for A24. They recently bought the Cherry Lane Theater in New York, where they've been doing all kinds of different programming from plays to screenings of films. And so it's like they're kind of going out into the world, which is interesting. I mean, they have a ton of capital from venture capitalists and they're seemingly making interesting investments with it. So we'll see how it goes. But I kind of like the physicalness of A24 stuff going
Yeah, I
forward.
love it too. Just don't bring on Francis Ford Coppola as a consultant on how to spend that money.
Yeah,
That's all.
you'd have to sell all your Hereditary watches
Yeah.
to make your money back. Well, I mean, with the slate of films they've put out this year, they're okay losing money without Coppola, so
Good
it's
point.
not very good, but, although I will talk about an A24 film later that I think is going to make money and I'm very excited about.
Yeah.
But that's down the road. At the moment, though, that's all the news. So let's move into talking about our film for the week, Moving Violations. So you hadn't seen this before.
No.
Um, it's it holds up for me on watching it again because
Of course
I
it
think my
does.
expectations were low in the
Yeah, we have
80s.
had this discussion that if you watch the movie when you were between 5 and 15, regardless of how bad it is or isn't, it holds up for you because you have a good feeling about it, and that is totally true. And I have the same feeling about another Neil Israel movie, Bachelor Party, which I don't think anyone would ever say is a legitimately good movie, but I saw it at a certain time in my life, and I will never say it's terrible. So I will certainly always enjoy that movie. And so you have Moving Violations. There you go.
Yeah. Although, like we talked about before the show, I did watch Cobra over the weekend and it didn't hold up for me.
That's
It
fair.
pains me to say,
Yeah, that's
but it's still pretty cool. I mean, to look at and just, there are little things here and there that
well,
are really fun.
yeah. So here's the bigger thing that I'm always thinking when I watch Cobra or when I watch stuff like this. We just think, man, the 80s was such a good time to be a certain kind of filmmaker because none of these people would have had jobs or been able to make these movies like now. Like this is not a time where this is possible anymore. But back in the 80s when there were no streaming channels and there were so few TV networks and everyone was going to the movies, I mean Jesus, you could get anything made. It is maybe not anything, but there are a lot of things that came out in the 80s that you're like, wow, that is amazing that they got that green lit and cast and on the screen.
It's funny you say that because as you and I both watched this on DVD, you got it from your library. It wasn't available in my library, and that's something we should point out is that this really doesn't have any kind of streaming presence. It doesn't necessarily have a physical media presence that's like modern. It has a DVD, and I actually had to go on Amazon and buy it for $20.
I think
The
I
the
saw it
nice,
streaming
longer
on
version.
YouTube though, actually. I
Oh, I
think
didn't
I
look
saw
on
it on
YouTube.
YouTube, but I'm not positive it was the whole movie, but I'm pretty sure I saw it there. But I'm sure it was
But
$20 well spent. So it's fine.
yeah, who wouldn't want to own Moving Violations on physical media? Come on. So so we both watched it with the director's commentary, and you know, Neal Israel, who's the co-writer and director, said he and his producing partner just had an idea, and they just like threw it out there, and it got made. And I just kept thinking, like,
But hang on. It wasn't just that they got it made. It went from concept to screen in 6 months.
yes,
6 months. That is
that's
unheard
nuts.
of. And they got this movie, which when you watch the movie, it's not that surprising that it was 6 months to getting on screen. There wasn't a whole lot of contemplation or rewrites going on, but they got
Yeah.
it. The concept, they wrote the script, cast it, filmed it, and got it in theaters in 6 months.
2 months of that was shooting, which is insane. 60 days to shoot something like this?
Mostly at night, yeah, because it was mostly night shoots and all that. But yeah, that alone, where it's like the 80s was a glorious time for certain people.
I really feel like, you know, I'm comparing me now to Neal Israel back then, but I'm thinking, like, I could have had this guy's career. Like, if I were back then, the age I am now, with the knowledge I have, like, I feel like anybody could have made a movie,
I'm
and
telling you,
anybody
it is
did.
amazing. But I mean, but this was like peak Neal Israel. Like he was on a heater at this point. And I actually didn't know that he got the first movie he made was a kind of a cult classic, but also introduced like a lot of SCTV people to America. Like he made that movie Tunnel Vision,
Yeah,
which which had John Candy in it. It brought Joe Flaherty, like all those guys, like brought some SCTV guys, but also had Chevy Chase in it. It was just like one of those anthology type movies that got bigger later, like Kentucky Fried Movie and all of that. Although there is a concept around it, but kind of idea to throw like sketches into a movie. But anyway, yeah, this was like peak Neal Israel. So he writes Bachelor Party, which does surprisingly well. I didn't know that movie did well in the theaters, but it actually did pretty well. Wrote Police Academy, which of course was huge. Side note, I actually wanted to rewatch Police Academy because I was obviously thinking about it this week.
mhm.
That isn't available on streaming. You have to pay for
Really?
it just to get it, just to watch it, which I find to be criminal. Like Police Academy should be easier to get on a streaming service than it is.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable. But so he writes, so he says Bachelor Party and just Police Academy, puts out Moving Violations. He also gets Real Genius, which is another script that he wrote, greenlit. That gets made the following year. So I mean, Jesus, Neal
Quite a
Israel,
run.
he's got quite a run in the mid '80s. And then this
It's
is
pretty
same period
amazing.
of time he marries Amy Heckerling because they meet on the set of Johnny Dangerously, which is another movie we may or may not do in a
There
rewatch
we
and
go.
reconsider
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I don't know. There's a lot to that movie, but they met there and ended up getting married. Um, and then they both end up working on Look Who's Talking Too, which I think is the reason their marriage broke up because they get divorced shortly after that. Which I can
Yeah.
understand how working on Look Who's Talking Too might ruin a marriage.
Sure. And a career.
Yeah,
But well, that makes sense because he also directed a few episodes of the Fast Times TV show shortly after
yeah,
this.
right.
So I don't know if Amy Heckerling was involved with that or not. I mean, she must have been, but
I don't
uh,
know. I will say though, he also ends up doing a lot of work on TV and does some producing. I mean, he ends up having a long career near Neal Israel. But the thing that really jumped out to me, and we had the same conversation when we talked about Better Off Dead, that it's true. It's like the comedy guys that kind of peaked in this early mid '80s period, and you could just tell by the brand of comedy that it is and how it operates, where their sensibilities are. And both of these guys, Savage Steve and Neal Israel end up working in kids television in the '90s, which
mhm.
makes perfect sense because that is exactly where this kind of comedy concept goes. You end up working for Nickelodeon, you end up working for the Disney Channel when they were just pumping out content for kids, and this is kind of dumb version of comedy. It just works in terms of children's stuff later. So
Yeah.
it wasn't surprising to find out that he ends up being involved in like a couple of Mary Kate and Ashley Olsen straight to video things that were big back in the '90s. but he
Yeah.
worked on Even Stevens. He did Lizzie McGuire. Uh, for me though, the one that jumped out, which I kind of loved, which will mean nothing to you, but he actually directed a few episodes of the Fresh Beat Band. So the
Mhm.
Fresh Beat Band was a popular Nickelodeon show when my son was really, really little. And it was just like these four kids and they have a band and I don't know what they do in their spare time, but it's always about them making a song to get to a show or something. Who knows?
Mhm.
But the songs just were incredibly catchy. Like I couldn't get some of these songs out of my head for weeks and weeks.
Wow.
Matter of fact, I think one of them is still on a playlist I have somewhere on my Spotify. I just couldn't get these songs out of my head.
Huh.
But anyway, so the Fresh Beat Band was just one of those things that was drilled into my brain as a parent, and he was involved in that. So
It's really interesting that he's in this kids genre because this movie, I mean, all of those are like basically a bunch of grown children who
yes,
go out and I mean, I feel like they're avatars of him being a big child and listening to him in the director's commentary, you kind of get that energy that he's
yeah,
this like
every
big goofy kid.
all these four movies that we talk about involve a main character who's a guy who does not like authority and is a wise ass. That is every movie is that. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty. It doesn't take a genius to figure out where Neil Israel uh, stands or where his sensibilities are.
I want to just step back a minute and explain what this movie is to people because I guarantee you they haven't seen it. So I might as well tell them what it's about. And basically what it's about is, like you said, a wise ass main character uh, gets put into driver school and with a group of other people who are terrible drivers. He's not necessarily a terrible driver. He gets put there because an apple fell out of his hand. Some terrible circumstances leading to him going to school. The authority figure that you mentioned is in the term of the police department in this
Yeah, I
case.
was gonna say the other thing that all Neil Israel movies have is an aggressive authority figure. That's important
Yeah,
too. But
yeah,
so that is in this one in the form of a traffic cop who is a lunatic who ends up putting him in traffic school and taking his
yeah.
license away for an apple.
And ends up teaching the traffic school
Of
because
course.
he continuously falls from grace with their commander in chief and ends up being in the same spot that his adversary is, which I think is kind of interesting. Uh, the lead in this film is John Murray. And who is John Murray? You've never heard of him because he's not really in anything. Uh, he was given a shot in this. He had a bit part in Caddyshack. He went on to have bit parts in a few other things, but the youngest brother of Bill Murray, and he's really channeling Bill Murray in this film, and that was what sort of cast him out of Hollywood because he's too Bill Murray. You don't need
Yeah.
two of them,
I will say
and
though,
so
you say channeling Bill Murray, and I don't want to give John Murray a disservice by saying that necessarily. I do think they're brothers, and I think they grew up in the same way, and I think that I think he just happens to sound more like his brother than his other two
yeah,
brothers do. And I think
his delivery.
yeah, I think even the tone of his voice, there's a couple of things where he says talks off screen. And if you close if if you weren't thinking about it, you could almost imagine that it's Bill Murray, like just the way he delivers lines and even his vocals inflection. Um, so yeah, I don't necessarily want to say that he is trying to be his brother, or he just can't help it. I don't
Well,
think
no,
you
yeah.
can help sounding like Bill Murray when you're Bill Murray's brother.
Well, unless you're Brian Doyle Murray.
Right. That, that is true.
But yeah, he kind of gets saddled with that, and whether intentional or not, I mean, he has like that sort of loose improvisational feel to him that Bill has, and you just don't need two of those actors in Hollywood in
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
mid '80s.
That's why
So
I think it's a shame, because I
unfortunate.
actually think he was pretty good in this movie, and he does have a certain I don't know what word I would use, a certain twinkle, we'll say, about the way
Yeah,
he delivers things. And this was kind of his first movie, and I thought he was good in it.
yeah, and I mean, the material wasn't great
No.
to deal with, so it's a tough script, and a lot of those jokes are as much as I enjoyed watching this again, it's over the top, and the jokes and the writing are just like, you know, uh, jokes for the sake of jokes, and they're not all that clever or interesting, but they're there, and they like, you kind of have to forget like logic or any kind of like taste when you watch this and just go along for the ride and feel the the
That's the
slapstick
that's the
nature.
best that's the best capsule review ever. You have to
Yeah.
forget taste to watch this movie. That
Forget
pretty much
taste
says
and
it
have a
all.
good time.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it was still fun, I thought. And I mean, right from the get go, what kind of movie it's going to be because they show everybody who ends up in the class what their violations are that get them into traffic school. And it is like the most elaborate, like Zucker Abrams style stuff that you'll
Yeah.
ever see. The one person has bowling balls in her car, and like 10 of them for
Who
some
buys
reason.
multiple bowling balls when they're getting into bowling? I don't yeah, but she
And
buys
of
a whole bunch of bowling
course,
balls.
that's Wendy Jo Sperber, her character, who I want to talk about her a little more, but this is like scene one in the movie. And in the director's commentary, Neal Israel says that they had a cannon that just shot bowling balls out of the back of this Pinto. And then you see the gags of like, it lands on some guy's crotch, it lands on the fruit stand. So it's very, fundamental gags, but there are like 30 of them. And that sets you up for like, here we go. This is what it's going to be. And, it didn't really slow down from there. I mean, I think there's a joke in like every moment of this film almost, and for better or worse, but it's something else. I mean, I'm really just thinking about breaking down this film and like how it got made. Like now that you've mentioned that, I'm just thinking like,
I
how
mean,
how did this get
yeah, I
greenlit?
think because when the guy makes Bachelor Party and then Police Academy back to back, Police Academy was a really big hit. That's what surprises me. Again, you can't get it on streaming. For people that weren't around at that point, I mean, I don't think anybody realizes how big Police Academy was. I mean, they're making 7 sequels to that movie. That's not an accident. Police Academy kind of came out of nowhere and blew up. And Steve Guttenberg was like the biggest star for a few years. I mean, it was a big deal.
Yeah.
So when that guy basically pitches a concept and it's going to sell, I mean, at that point, he probably could have got anything made. And because it was the year after Police Academy, and it's this.
As a director, it's his second film, I think. So it maybe it's his blank check film that.
Yeah, you could certainly look at it that way. Absolutely. Yeah.
So what did he do with that blank check? He made moving
He made moving
violations.
violations.
Uh,
Yes.
of its time. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty fascinating. But Police Academy really starts what this continues. Well, it didn't really start it, but it's just that ensemble 80s comedy
Yeah.
that has almost there's almost like a checklist, and we'll see it in Summer School too. I mean, I wonder if the writers of Summer School didn't see this and think like, let's just move that to the beach and make it, the same thing because it's very similar.
Well, I mean, that would be saying that someone actually saw moving violations and had a thought
That's
about it
true.
at the time. But
Yeah.
maybe they heard about it. Maybe that's what
I
it was.
mean, I think so because there are a lot of just like one for ones, even down to like Chainsaw and Dave in that movie, and what's his name in this film, Wink. Like
Yeah.
I'm not even
Obsessed with
sure that.
He even mentions Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like the thing to do in the mid-80s.
So there are just so many parallels there, and Police Academy is the same way. It's like the ragtag group against the man, and very prominent. Perhaps like a statement on the Reagan era and the Republican Party taking over the 80s. I don't know.
Could be.
We won't go down that road, but um, yeah, this one is just it's super funny. I think the writing is ridiculous, but
Yes. So speaking of
still
writing
like it.
being ridiculous, I mean, all you need to know about this movie is that in this movie, Jennifer Tilly plays a NASA scientist,
Right.
and that that pretty much tells you where the movie's writing is.
That's a great example of like they set things up and pay them off so overtly in this. Like,
Yeah.
oh, she looks great, but she's not a rocket scientist. I'm a rocket scientist. Like,
Yeah.
and
It's like
then,
cartoon level payoff, essentially.
right,
Like, yeah.
right.
And that's a good point that you mentioned that, because there is a continuing gag about Wendy Jo Sperber's character
Yeah,
confusing a mechanic for a doctor. And you think to yourself, they first talk about it and you're like, well, this is okay. It's fine.
right.
It's like a misunderstanding of words, and that's cool. But and then though they pay it off a second time where she does what he says, and they pay it off a third time where she goes to the shop and gets on a lift, a car lift. And you're like, that is one payoff too many. Like, they rode that concept into the dirt. You're just like, wow.
Yeah.
They must have really thought that was funny and took that one as far as it could go. But you did not need that second payoff for that joke.
Even in the director's commentary, when you hear Neal Israel just like reacting to this, he hadn't seen it in a long time, and he's just still he thinks a lot of this stuff is really funny. And I mean, as I'm watching along and hearing him think about which things are funny, I'm like, don't know if that's actually still funny or not. But I mean, he loves his work and he loves that what he did.
He did admit that his comedy, and he even said this, that his comedy love is still, is it, what did he say? His comedy mind is still that of a 12-year-old boy. I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah. And that's how he ends up working on kid stuff in the 90s. Yeah, that is exactly the kind of stuff that kids would think is funny. No doubt about it.
Yeah, it's perfect. Um, talk about the cast a little bit. We mentioned John Murray and Jennifer Tilly. Jennifer Tilly's first film, I think, or maybe
It's
she
got
had
to be
one
pretty
more
close
before
to
it.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. Also the first film of one of the other characters, Nadine Vandervelde, who played Stephanie. It was her first film, and the first film for Mr. Don Cheadle, which
Yes.
Neal Israel didn't even know until he he did the director's commentary in like 2005. And he's like, I worked with Don Cheadle. I can't believe it. So that's that's pretty funny. Um, yeah, I think it's actually a pretty solid cast. It's interesting that it's a cast of people who are the relatives. And we mentioned this last week. You said
Yeah.
we'll figure out which Baldwin it is. And it's like you have Meg Tilly's sister, you have Stacy Keach's brother, Bill Murray's brother. So it's really a film full of like sort of the second tier
And it's a second tier movie,
actors.
so in a way, it's like
Yeah,
that makes perfect sense. Yeah, that
yeah.
says it all. Like that it is a second tier movie. There's no doubt about it.
But I think that pedigree elevates the film. These relatives of these actors. Without them, if it's somebody else in these roles, maybe in retrospect, it's not even as good as we think it might
That's
be.
fair. But you're right. But it has all those people, but yet it also has Fred Willard, and it also
Right?
has inexplicably Sally Kellerman,
Yeah.
which I have no explanation for what Sally Kellerman is doing, and like kind of like where she ends up going, because after this, she ends up in Back to School, and it's like, does she just decide like, yeah, I'm just gonna make dumb 80s comedies going forward? I don't know. It's pretty fascinating.
Yeah, it is. And I realized when I was watching her, Jane Lynch reminds me so much of her. It's really like that.
Hmm.
Just there's something about the two of them at like a young Sally Kellerman that I just kept thinking of Jane Lynch, like her mannerisms. I mean, the looks and it's just kind of interesting. But uh, yeah, it's wild that she's in there. I mean, this
Yeah.
kind of sets the road for her. I mean, she's coming off of like all the interesting stuff in the 70s and early 80s and gets to this.
Yeah. And
Uh,
speaking of James Keach, who I had no idea was Stacy Keach's brother, by the way. I did not know
oh,
that.
really?
But you're welcome, because I made you watch Wildcats, which is the movie that James Keach made right after Moving Violations. I had no idea that he was in anything else. And yet
Yeah.
there he was. He was in this.
I didn't know that he was in, or I knew, but I forgot that he was in Vacation as the motorcycle
I
cop.
totally forgot that.
Yeah. Yeah, but there he was. It's good to mention Brian Backer, too, who
Yeah.
plays Scott in this. quite a career in the 80s. Uh, he's in Fast Times at Ridgemont High as Mark Ratner, of course. Um, and he's in The Money Pit. He's in Police Academy 4. I I think I don't know if he takes over the Gutenberg role or if there's like
It's possible he could have, but yeah. But it looks like yeah, he walks away from acting, and I mean, he's just there's nothing on him. Like I was actually trying to figure out where he ended up, but yeah, I just think he just walked away, and that was it.
so there are two interesting there's an interesting sliding doors scenario with this film, but as it pertains to Backer, I don't know if you knew this or not, but he was cast as Joel in Risky Business, and then they auditioned Tom Cruise and fired him, but he had the role. Like, imagine what that would have been like if Brian Backer were in Risky Business instead of Tom Cruise. That would have been insane. Like, I mean, I'm sure Cruise would have had probably just as good of a career as he has now, but Brian Backer would have sort of taken off, I think, or at least had a little more work that he did if he was looking for it. So that's interesting. But the sliding doors scenario for this film, which like blows my mind, is that Michael J. Fox really wanted the John Murray role,
Yeah, right.
but the studio thought he was too young. So this film's at the end of 1984, and he gets brought on to, or no, this film's for 2 months, 60 days, gets released in April, and they were shooting almost right up to the end. So it overlapped. But if he would have gotten this role, he couldn't have gone on to work on Back to the Future. That's crazy. He
That
could have gone the moving violations path.
that is that's a hell of a what if.
Yeah. It just blows my mind. I think about a world where,
He probably calls Neal Israel once a month and thanks him for not casting him in moving violations.
yeah, I told Laura that, and she said, "Talk about winning by losing." Like,
Yeah.
that's definitely the case. But um, so I watch this on HBO all the time, and apparently a lot of people did because I kind of researched it a little bit, and everything that I listened to or read about it references it being kind of a staple on HBO. And I talked to a friend of mine who actually rented it back in the day on VHS for some reason, but um, yeah, it sort of tanked at the box office. Like
Yeah.
it didn't do very well, and I think that HBO push though kind of like built it up a little bit, and now it sort of has a little bit of a cult status. I don't think it's getting like repertory screenings everywhere, but um, it people have a sort of a more of affection for it than they did back then. I mean, the Rotten Tomatoes rating is like 41% from the audience, so it's not like a groundswell of support for it, but I do think that it sort of has like a cult classic status that people in the know really love this film.
I mean, I can definitely see that because again, watching it, even though I had never seen it, watching it made me feel nostalgic, even though
Yeah.
I had never seen the movie before. So it just very much puts you in a very specific time and place. Uh,
Right.
and again, you know, we were talking about the cast when you go back to it. Yeah, you just look at it like you know all of these people. You've seen them in things. I mean, it's got Clara Peller who was making those Wendy's "Where's the Beef" commercials
Yeah.
at this point. Uh, Nedra Vols, the other one, plays the other old lady. Like she was in episodes of Different Strokes and just a lot of those TV shows that were on at that period of time.
Yeah, she worked with Norman Lear a lot.
Right. So you got that part of it. And so it's just, you know, and you mentioned Brian Backer, who you would have seen in Fast Times. So it's just got a cast of people whose faces you recognize, who you would have seen in a bunch of other things around this period of time.
Yeah.
And so if you have any connection to that period of time, it will make you smile just kind of seeing these people all in a movie together.
Yeah, I think if I showed it to like my 25-year-old nephew, he would not have an appreciation for it. But
No.
there's definitely like the nostalgia of that time for us that
Right.
I think really just kind of kicks in when I watch it. And the main thing I remembered from it, and the reason that I brought it to the show, was the moment where Loretta is sitting on a urinal and says, "Why is my back all wet?" Like that's for those of you who haven't seen it,
Ah,
that's the level of comedy, but that's the thing that stuck out to me for like 30 plus years, is that I remember that moment. And so I thought that's enough for me to take this film and bring it onto the show. And I'm kind of glad I did, because I still enjoy talking about it. And
yeah,
uh,
the running gag that she can't see. So I actually enjoyed the throwing the flare in the trunk of the car. Like that was pretty good.
my question is, so we'll get into like maybe some pointing out some things in the film that aren't logical. Imagine that. Like there are a few of them, but this woman would not be in traffic school,
No.
period. I mean, she would not be she would not have a license.
Yeah,
She
you let's
drives
not
onto
even
the
for a
airway.
second think about the logical inconsistencies. Like how would a 15-year-old with a fake ID end up in traffic school?
Right.
Under her fake ID persona, you could just get a new fake ID and you wouldn't have to go to traffic school. It doesn't make any sense.
How would the city be able to impound people's cars for a month and then sell them?
Right.
Like, don't those people have families who need the cars? Like, why does the city get to own them? It
Yeah.
makes no sense. That's the conspiracy in the film, for the listeners, is that the police department and the judge are in cahoots to impound cars, and for some reason in this world, after 30 days, they get to sell all the cars. And them keeping the cars is dependent on the drivers passing traffic school. So have you ever been to traffic school? I haven't.
I have not been to traffic school.
I
I mean,
don't think they
nowadays,
impound your car.
why would you even go to traffic school? Like you can take those courses online, right? Like I don't think
Yeah.
you would even need to go to traffic school, but maybe I'm
No.
wrong.
But uh you don't get your car impounded if you have traffic violations and then they
No.
just keep it. I mean, it
No, I
doesn't
mean,
make sense.
yeah, if you get a certain number of DUIs, they will impound your car, but that's it.
Right.
Like for a normal violation or anything, they're not going to take your car. No.
Not for a moving violation at all. But yeah, it just kind of makes sense. One thing I forgot to mention that blew me away is that the cinematographer on this is Robert Elswit. And there are a few shots in it that I think are really good. Like the shot of Backer's puppet truck going down the hill, and you see it from the point of view of the truck, and the kids at the top of it laughing
Yeah.
at him. And there are a couple other things throughout. But what's interesting about it is this is moving violations, like a screwball comedy that's by all accounts kind of terrible. Robert Elswit would go on to direct a few films you may have heard of by a director you might know. Um, there Will Be Blood, Boogie Nights, Magnolia, Hard Eight. So he was Paul Thomas Anderson's DP 10 years later, and he came a long way from
Okay.
shooting
I would
moving
love
violations.
to live in a world where Paul Thomas Anderson watched moving violations
I need
and
that
thought,
guy.
I need this guy in my life. Like
Yeah.
that would be the best the best part of this story.
You know, it could have happened.
And yeah, but
Um,
based on, I mean, we don't know Paul Thomas Anderson, but based on interviews we've seen with him, would that be all that surprising? Not particularly. It honestly wouldn't surprise me if he had stumbled across this movie at some point in his life and like, there's some really good shots in this, and said, like, I'm going to look up this guy. Who
yeah,
knows?
I mean, he went after Sandler because he loves Big Daddy.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
you know,
I mean, it's not like PTA is not, doesn't get into the low brow every once in a while. So yeah, it wouldn't be surprising.
yeah, I
Someone
kind of
needs to
love it.
ask him this question. This is really important. He's going to be doing a lot of
Like,
interviews for Oscar season. Someone has got to find out if he watched moving violations.
I think he and Ellswood had a bit of a falling out before Inherent Vice, though. So I don't know.
Oh,
It might be tough to have that conversation, but um, one of the other things to mention in this that Neal Israel kept talking about in the commentary is that all of the women are aggressors. Like they're always
right.
the ones asking the men out or getting the men to do things, which I find interesting. And I think about the one police officer in Police Academy too, who was that like really dominant woman. So I wonder if that's a thing for him.
He
He
did. He
seems
mentions
very
that in his
excited about it.
life. Yeah, in his life, he said all the women are aggressors because the men are like him in a
Like
way. It's like
nerds.
that's the
Yeah.
like nerdy guys, and that's how he imagines the world he wants to be.
Yeah. It's pretty funny. Do you have any other things you want to point out before we move on? Because it's pretty short to talk about this one.
Let's see. Let's see if there's anything else that I want to talk about. Oh yeah, there's just one little thing that I noticed that I wanted to mention. When they're sitting in driving school and they show that movie, blood
Blood
in the
flows red on
streets.
the highway.
Yeah,
Yeah.
blood on the highway. Which is actually kind of funny. But there are the kids at the bus stop, and I noticed that one of the kids, it's a split second, but it's Horace from the Monster Squad. He's the last
Oh,
kid they
really?
show before the car hits the kids. Yeah,
Oh, wow.
yeah.
Wow. We just did that film on the
Exactly.
show.
So
That's
I
awesome.
totally clocked it, and then I went back and paused it so I could be sure. But yeah, it was definitely him.
Is he credited or uncredited?
I think he's uncredited. I don't recall seeing his name in the credits.
Someone who's uncredited as well is Robert Conrad, who we
Yeah.
forgot to mention.
And the reason for that is he was supposed to be in Police Academy and turned it down,
Right.
and he felt really bad about that. So we'll talk about, sliding doors type thing. So
Yeah,
he
yeah.
doesn't end up in Police Academy and regrets it. So he agrees to do this. So you got to get on it
Was it
when you got to strike when the iron is hot. You don't take the second offer from
is it
Neal
George
Israel.
Gaines who plays that role in Police
I
Academy?
have to
Combat
assume that's
Lazard?
the role that they would have that we're talking about. They didn't
Yeah,
mention what role it was, but we have to assume that's the role, right?
yeah, yeah. But I can't see Robert Conrad in that role. I mean, it's just he doesn't have much to do in this, you know.
No, not really.
What he does in this is like Lee Trevino and Happy Gilmore, how he just shows up and shakes his head every once in a while. Like
Right.
that's kind of what what he feels like in this. But he was well known for these commercials that he did where for copper top batteries or Eveready or something, I don't remember,
Yeah.
but he would put one on his shoulder and say something like, try to knock this off of my shoulder, which is a ridiculous marketing campaign, but it was very famous. And he came to set on the first day with this, with batteries taped to his shoulder. So he really enjoyed that
I
marketing.
have no idea why that would be. Yeah. I'm gonna talk about committing to the bit. I don't know.
Yeah, it's very strange. All right. Well, unless you have anything else, I think we can call it a day on this
Wait a
because.
second. Wait a second. No,
Oh,
we're not
okay.
leaving it where it is. You
I thought
need
you
to
said you have one.
officially defend moving violations. This is what's important.
Okay. Yes. Does it hold up for me? Uh, it does, but not in the ways that I wanted it to. I wanted it to be an actually good film, and that's my bad because there weren't really any good comedies like this that would hold the test of time. Other than Summer School, I think Summer School is a better version of this. We did that on the show, and I think that has a lot more heart to it.
Right.
This
I think
is
that's
what,
the key when we go back and look at these movies. The ones that had a little more heart hold up better than just these broad gags. Because the gags get tiresome or you've seen them a bunch of times. Like that's just to wear out. But yeah, like the heart and the camaraderie holds up. And that's what usually makes these movies seem better in retrospect.
now, for nostalgia's sake, I still enjoy this. Like uh, because I didn't remember a ton of it, but I just remembered like James Keach and like I said, Loretta on the urinal. But um, yeah, I still enjoyed it. It's lowbrow and it's good to step down off your high horse every once in a while and watch something mindless and goofy. And if it can kick in the nostalgia, then all the better. So
Yeah, that is true. I'm glad you mentioned that part of it too, because yeah, I have this conversation with my oldest son who's getting into movies. I've been telling him stuff to watch. He's finding stuff on his own, but he's watching a lot of he wants to watch the good stuff, like the good movies.
mhm.
So he watched Zodiac last week, and like he's trying to stockpile these all the great movies that people say you should watch. But I keep telling him that every once in a while you got to watch a Commando. You gotta you have to. You can't just watch difficult highbrow movies all the time. So last week we actually ended up watching Anchorman, which is good. It's like, don't you have to shake the snow globe a little bit and watch
Yeah,
something dumb, and so then you can reset and watch more good movies.
yeah. I agree. That's a great way to go about it. I think that's really cool. And so did he watch Moving Violations or no?
He did not watch movie violations with me. No. The
That's
only
too
the
far
only
in the
one
other
of
direction.
these movies that I have forced my kids to watch was Midnight Madness. Like that's it. Like,
Mhm.
because for me, that's just kind of the one. But wait, so by the way, I was thinking about this too. I want to say before we let it go. What surprised me was that this movie was PG-13,
Yeah.
and I wonder how that came about because I mean, this was the peak era of making R comedies, and every one of these type of movies had to have a certain kind of scene, and we all know what that scene would be, and that's in Bachelor Party, and well, I mean more than just one, but yeah, that's what you expect. And the fact that they went a little bit softer with this one, I do wonder if that is part of why it didn't perform as well. I mean, maybe
Could
that's
be.
just it's hard to know for sure. But yeah, there's certain things about these '80s movies it's that they were uh there were certain things you would expect.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't think about that, but I think Neal Israel said the reason it got the 13 part on the PG is because of Loretta saying the F word one
Hmm.
time. So it would have even been just PG. I mean, it would have done probably less than it did, which wasn't a lot. But I think, yeah, that's interesting. I remember what Summer School was. Was that PG
That was
13?
PG-13 as well. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's not a fair comparison, though. I mean, they
No.
have a similar premise, but I
Yeah.
think they're
I
two
think
different
Summer
films.
School is geared a little more towards teens as well. I don't know, it feels like a little bit of a different kind of movie. But yeah, this one you would think after the other two movies that he made, you would keep that going. And no, I guess he decided to make something a little softer. He was already heading towards his Nickelodeon era, I guess. So he
Yeah.
was already.
Yeah, that's interesting. All right. Well, yeah. So, would you recommend this film?
No, I would not.
Oh,
I would
okay.
recommend it okay, let's put it this way. Would I recommend it to anyone younger than us? No. No.
No.
But if I'm hanging out with people our age and they've never seen it, like you should definitely watch this movie.
Yeah.
That we'll put it that way. So
Okay.
not recommended with a disclaimer.
Gotcha. I think everybody should watch it and sit through it and be happy or sad. I don't know, but yeah, it was fun to rewatch. I may never watch it again, even though I own it now. Maybe I'll.
You're committed now. You have to watch it once a year. You spent $20 on this movie. You got to watch it once a year.
Yeah, I need to get my money's worth, I guess. In all honesty, I'll probably sell it back to somebody pretty soon. But I wonder if it's like, it might go up in value if it's hard to come by and if it's not on streaming.
That's
You can
that's that's
imagine if moving
that's
violations
possible.
made me a fortune. It didn't make
Uh,
anybody else a fortune, but maybe me.
that would be great.
All right. Well, then that's it for moving violations. Let's move on to what we watched this week.
Yeah, I watched quite a bit this week. We'll try to go through it quickly. So I went to go see Predator,
Hmm.
which I thought was really good. I don't know if it was as good as Prey, which was just surprising. I think that's why Prey was so good.
Hmm.
But this was pretty good. I'm kind of surprised that he really has breathed new life into the Predator franchise because it almost felt fresh and you could see where they can go with this. Um,
Hmm.
and also first time Predator was PG-13 too, so you can see where they're trying to go with this. So I think that was interesting as well. Yeah, I thought it was a fun movie. It's probably 10 minutes too long, but it moved and I thought it was pretty good. Um,
Oh, I might go see it today. Like I mentioned, we have a new movie theater open down the street, so maybe I'll just walk down and check it out.
yeah, we're seeing the big screen. I thought it was pretty good. Um, See, so you were off by a week, so you thought I was going to watch Playdate, which I definitely am not going to watch, but
Yeah,
I definitely watched The Family Plan 2. Uh,
as
um,
did I.
yeah, so I watched that movie, and I honestly don't even think I could tell you what happened. The minute it was over, I forgot about it. I forgot it
Yeah.
ever happened.
Well, the guy from Game of Thrones was now Marky Mark's brother,
Yeah,
and uh, despite trying to kill him and all kinds of things, their family at the end. I mean, that's the plan, right? The family plan
Yeah.
that they wear pea coats together in prison.
Yeah.
Not to ruin the movie, but I mean, I think I think the filmmakers ruined the movie before I
Yeah.
did.
It was, yeah. I mean, again, it wasn't terrible as I was watching it. I didn't hate it, but the second it was over, I just completely forgot that it ever happened. It's just the kind of movie that it is. Um,
I really wish more for Michelle Monaghan. I love her, and I think she's a good physical actress. She's very athletic, and in the last film, I can't believe I'm going into, like, the last Family Plan film, but, it was her against Maggie Q, who's also an incredibly athletic actress, like, that was interesting. I mean, that I wanna see you saw a little bit of that with Michelle Monaghan in this, but, I just want her to do better stuff.
well, that was the point. This whole movie just felt like trying to recreate the moments that you liked in the first one, and that's,
Sure.
depending on your mileage, that's all that it is. So,
For
um,
$200 million, probably.
unbelievable. Uh,
I
I
don't know what the
also
budget is, I'm just assuming.
it could have been, although there's some pretty strong green screen or whatever you want to call it going on in this movie.
Ooh,
It
yeah.
was that wasn't great either. Staying with the straight to streaming movies, I watched Jingle Bell Heist, which just
What the
dropped on
hell's Jingle
Netflix.
Bell Heist?
That's like the number one movie on Netflix right now.
No, I
It's
watch
a
it.
holiday crime caper rom com. What more do you need to know? Like that's
Ooh,
basically it. Um,
and who are the stars?
Olivia Holt is in it. Um, who was also in a movie called Turkey Drop, which someone told me I needed to watch. So I ended up
Is
watching
is
Turkey Drop as well. Doesn't matter.
is that based on the WKRP episode?
No, no, which I also watched, by the way, this week. I watch
Sure,
that like
you have
every
to.
year. But no, this is about the idea that Turkey Drop is about uh, long distance couples breaking up over the Thanksgiving break.
Mm.
It doesn't matter. It wasn't a very good movie. It was like a ABC family movie from years ago. But she ends up being in Jingle Bell Heist. Jingle Bell Heist was a decent movie. It was yeah, I thought it was okay. I thought it was enjoyable. Didn't hate it. I wouldn't
Oh,
necessarily recommend it to everybody, but it's a decent concept for a movie that was okay with. Uh,
Olivia Holt in, in the show Dog with a Blog, directed and written by Neal Israel.
wow. See,
It all comes around.
it all comes around. The last movie that I watched that I want to talk about was Bride Hard, which just came out on streaming. And I remember seeing the trailer for this movie. And
What a week you
yeah,
had.
yeah, it's been a roller coaster of emotions. So I
God.
watched so much Bride Hard. I have no idea. Like at any point did anyone realize they were making this movie? I I'm genuinely stunned watching it because you have, by all accounts, a really good cast. It's got a
Yeah,
strong cast, but this movie's concept and execution are just shockingly poor. But I mean, for the simple fact that did they realize that they cast Rebel Wilson as the lead in this movie? I mean, I don't. First of all, because she is funny, and the movies, in the part where she's supposed to be funny, she's fine. Like I've always thought
yeah,
she's funny, but trying to pretend that she could pull off an action movie, you can clearly see half the time it's not her. The
right.
other parts, I guess they told her that to be an action hero, you should just scream all the time while you're doing action movie things. Did someone give her that direction? Because that's what's happening the whole time. It's just the concept itself is just woefully inept. All the set pieces are not good. I was shocked at how poor this movie actually was, and I wanted to like this movie. Like I went into this movie wanting to see it, thinking it could be redeemed, and it was just not good.
And directed by the same director, Simon West, who directed Con Air.
Yeah,
From Con Air to Bride Hard,
yeah.
How the Mighty Have Fallen.
Mm-hmm.
That's a shame. Yeah, I watched this a long time ago, and I did not like it at all. I think that
No,
it's just so bad. It's poor Stephen Dorff. I thought coming off of True Detective, where he was like, knocking it out of the park, he gets
that's what
to
I'm
this,
saying.
and
It's
I'm
like you have
like,
Stephen
oh,
Dorff, you have Justin Hartley, who is actually really good in Tracker, You have Anna Klumsky, who I think is kind of like an underrated
Mhm.
comedy great. I think that she's really good. She was amazing in Veep. Like she's just uh it just felt like everyone was told to ham it up in a way that's not great. It's got Joy Randolph, who I love, by the way. I mean, she's great in Only Murders in the Building. So it's like, yeah,
More on
just
her
a
in a minute.
cast of. I'm sorry, what?
I said more on her in a minute.
Yeah, it's just a cast of people that I actually like watching, and so I couldn't believe how little I'd liked watching the movie.
I really like Anna Camp. I think she's
Yeah,
pretty
yeah,
great too. I mean, you have that Pitch Perfect reunion with
right.
her and Rebel Wilson, and like if you want to watch a slightly better version of this, go watch Shotgun Wedding with J Lo and Josh Duhamel, because that feels like that's like the more interesting, similar premise as this, but it's like the bride and groom in that action role.
Yeah,
But
even that
yeah,
movie wasn't that good, but yeah, you're
no,
right.
but better than this.
That's true.
Wow. So your Thanksgiving hangover doesn't just come from eating food. It comes from like watching these awful movies.
No, yeah, I just was sitting up at like midnight, just like Clockwork Orange, just sitting through like trash movies. That's
Ooh,
it's kind of what I do during the
that's what
holidays.
this time is for. Yeah.
Right, right, absolutely.
Oh,
I watched
well,
highbrow television and lowbrow films. That's what I was doing this week.
that's awesome.
Mhm.
uh, well, let me shift gears then, because I watched a bunch of stuff too. And the first thing I watched is an Oscar-winning documentary about a a coal miner strike. So a little bit of a different pedigree than
That's a
than
hard
Brideheart.
turn. Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So this film is called Harlan County, USA, and it's
Oh man. So
incredible.
yeah. So you finally watched that. That's the movie you're talking about. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
They
Did
show
you
that on
watch
like
it?
they show it on Turner Classic Movies like once a year. It's considered like one of the greatest documentaries that's ever been made. Yeah.
It's unbelievable. It's from 1976, won Best Documentary at the Oscars. Filmed from early 70s, 71 forward, and it's from Barbara Koppel, and it's the story of this coal miner strike in Kentucky in 1971, and it lasts for almost a year. But it's really intense because there's so much intrigue to it, and there are villains. I mean, they're like straight up villains in this. There's murder. Like there's so much that goes on, and this is almost 50 years ago, and it feels like you could have made this today. I mean, we see so many unions striking now because they want just like a fair wage, and they want benefits that are reasonable. And, that's what everybody was fighting for in this film. But it's just so impactful and like beautifully made. And it's really interesting because it's set in Appalachia. There are like these transitions between not necessarily scenes, but like subjects in the film, and the transitions are people who are involved in it from the area singing in like this Appalachian kind of way. Like they just sing what you just saw and what you're about to see. So it's like these really kind of cool transitions that incorporate the people who are in the film. It just blew me away. I think it's one of
Yeah.
the best
It's just
documentaries
such
ever.
a wonderful movie that puts you into a time and place that you're probably not familiar with and immerses you in something that yeah, that ends up being really moving. It's really, yeah, in terms of just drama, it can eat. I'm surprised no one made this into like an actual movie just because there's so much in it.
Yeah, I went and did a little deep dive on some of the parties involved in it, and it's crazy. I mean, like it's like mob tactics from the owners of these mines, and like to the point of where they whack people. It's insane. But yeah, I mean, it would make a very good dramatization if you were to do this in the dramatic format. Um, Also watch Bulgonia this week, the Yorgos Lanthimos film with Emma Stone and Jesse Plemons. Uh, Lanthimos is pretty hit or miss for me. I mostly miss. I don't really love like a lot of the stuff he does, but um, I love this film. It was wonderful. It just
Really?
really, it was interesting subject for me. Jesse Plemons, again, there's like a corporation involved. Corporation makes his mother sick, and it kind of tweaks his brain, and he believes that people are aliens, and he has to like go do something about that. It's intense and it's shot beautifully as most Lanthimos films are. The thing that stood out to me the most is the music. The music is incredible. It's done by Jerskin Fendrix, who did pretty much all of Lanthimos's films, but like this very contemporary sort of classical sounding music on top of like really stylized visuals and great performances. Highly recommend this movie. I really had a lot of fun watching it. I'll probably go see it again if it's still playing anywhere. Um, Last thing I saw, which I had high hopes for, and it met my expectations, is Eternity, the new rom-com starring Miles Teller, Elizabeth Olsen, and Callum Marsh, I think is his name. He's like married to Dua Lipa or something. Uh, this was just it was such a screwball comedy, like a very Howard Hawks esque
Really? That's not what I
thing.
was. That wasn't the vibe. I wasn't aware that's what it was. That makes me more intrigued and want to see it.
It's really fun. Of course, there's like that feel to it, but it has almost like an A24 template on top of it, where it's the afterlife. The story is that Elizabeth Olsen's character Joan dies. Her current husband predeceased her by a week. He's played by Miles Teller, but that was her second husband. So her first husband waited for her, kind of in purgatory, for 60 years, so he could be with her in the afterlife. And so it becomes a battle between Miles Teller and Callum Marsh for the affection of Elizabeth Olsen, and she has to make this decision. Divine Joy Randolph is in it with John Early. The two of them play afterlife coordinators, sort of like shepherding everybody through getting from death to wherever they're going to end up. And it's they're great in it. Everybody's really great in this. I would say Callum Marsh is kind of the weak link, but overall, it was really fun. I think I'm going to go see this again as well. I highly recommend it. It has great ratings on Rotten Tomatoes. I think it's something like 80%, which is pretty good these days. So yeah, I think it's going to do well. Hopefully,
Yeah,
I don't think it costs a lot, but um, yeah, I highly recommend all three of these films that I watched this week because they're all really good.
you got a
And
better batting average than me this week. I'll tell you that much.
yeah, it's sort of a tale of two movie watching experiences. So yeah, it was a good week. And I think that's it. Before we go, we have a programming note. This is our last show for the year. We're going to take December off. We're going to spend time with our families. But we're also going back to the drawing board and kind of revising the show a little bit going into the new year. We decided to lean into the throwdown element of our title, which we haven't done very much. And what we're going to do is kind of every week, we're going to look at two films that have something in common, whether that's uh, a title or a theme or a time of release or an actor, whatever. And we're going to try to determine which one is the better film of the two. And there's going to be a lot of social media engagement. Hopefully, get some votes to help us determine this ahead of time. We may decide that we can't make a decision. I don't know. I don't think we need to necessarily be definitive at the end, but I think it's going to be a lot of fun to go this different direction, and we're going to kind of uh, just I don't know, jumpstart the show a little bit with a new approach, and I think it's going to be awesome.
It's a bit like U2 in between. Right before they make Octung Baby. They went away in the end of the '80s and they came back with a whole new
Yeah,
concept. So there you go.
the U2 of podcasts. That is us
Hmm.
going into 2026, and we don't have the first matchup nailed down yet, but we'll send that out on social media. And do follow us on social media. We're at Movie Throwdown Pod everywhere because we're going to need your votes to help us kind of determine which film is the better of the two that we talk about. A couple of, just to give you an idea, a couple of things that I pitched out there were Heat versus The Town. Like, what's the better film of those two? Because they're so similar, you know, and I think it'll be fun to look at context of time, like cultural elasticity, and just you know, there's so many elements. Like, who's the better director? Who has a career that's built off of one of these things? But so that's just one example of like a million that we've already come up with, and I think they'll all be pretty good. So we do hope you come back and stick with us through this time of change, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So join us in the new year and have some happy holidays, everybody, and we'll see you in 2026. So long.
As always, thanks for listening to the Weekly Movie Throwdown. We'll be back next week with another exciting episode, so be sure to subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. And for even more from us, visit moviethrowdownpod.com or connect with us on social media. We're Movie Throwdown on Letterboxd and at Movie Throwdown Pod everywhere else.